UCL has had a relationship, a close relationship sometimes with eugenics since the beginning of the 20th century. And all along we can identify people who said it was a bad thing, said they shouldn't do it, tried to minimize it, tried to get it out. But what happens in a lot of that history, and again, this is the really overt, tough stuff. That's easy to spot. The really ugly work is really easy to find and condemn. My interest is when it looks like it goes away, but it's still kind of there. And so that notion of dual use or drawing a line between the good and the bad. There's a lot of moments where researchers around UCL would say, yeah, Galton, Pearson, Fisher, these eugenicists, they did really great work, and then there's a dark side to them. And the great work is what we celebrate, and we don't talk about the other stuff. And we just leave the other stuff to the side. What language is that of building a boundary where you say good, bad, and we're only going to accept the good? Now, my thought is you're trying to hide something there. But it's not hiding in the sense of like hiding a crime. What you're doing is you're trying to reconcile yourself because you know that there's good and bad, and they're brought together like that. And what I think would be a success is if we find ways to have conversations where those two, the good and the bad, come together, or at least the good and the bad are talked about in a way so that everybody can make their decisions about how to accommodate them or reject them in their own lives. And so I think the UCL did a really good job over a long period of time of reflecting on what was good, but that's only true in some places. And I think UCL did a really bad job of allowing people to play these uncontested games of saying the dark side we won't talk about. We know it's there, but we'll just move on. The thing we've learned after decades of talking about anti-racism and anti-sexism and anti-so many things is diverse groups make better decisions. And so if I had my way, what I would do is I'd have conversations within the institutions so that they monitor themselves as things go along. And they include people who are impacted by the research as well as creating the research. People who have nothing to do with the research at all, looking in and asking, just, I suppose, my grandmother would call it common sense. So what I would like to say is who watches the researchers? Everybody. And I think that we need more conversations about where are these projects going and why. Cut off the bad stuff and amplify the good stuff so we get more of what we want and a lot less of what we don't. More diverse groups coming into the conversation, that's a plus. What should we do with the statues and the names and the commemoratives and all that stuff? Dump them, get rid of them. That's my view. As a historian, that's my view. Does it take them out of history? Are you kidding me? The library is still full. There's the internet. There's zillions of ways that people can learn about them. My own view about names are names should inspire people today. We're talking about heritage and we're not talking about history. Heritage is the use of the past for purposes in the present. And so putting a name up on a building is about heritage. Putting a painting on a wall is about heritage. Putting a statue up or taking it down is us using the past for purposes in the present. That's heritage. My view on names on buildings, change them every 10 years. Do it automatic because every generation has heroes and villains and let them have them. And if that inspires people to learn a little bit more, success. If that inspires people to learn something and argue about it, excellent. Play by the rules and argue. If that inspires people to say, you know what, this place is for me because that name, I want to not only be like them, but I want to be the next them. And if that does that in a university, are you kidding me? That's the game. That's what we do. So we inspire people. And if we can do that with a name on a wall, fantastic. I've worked at UCL for more than 20 years. I stand at the front gates all the time and say, get in here. We want you here. I have trained my whole life for the people who've just arrived to start their education at the university. I want them there. And to have somebody stand in front of a building and say, it makes me feel like I don't belong. That's the biggest crime for someone in my profession is to make somebody feel like they don't belong. That's a failure. So in order to get past that failure, we change a name on a building, give me the screwdriver. I'll do it myself.